What is happening, everybody, man? Thank you guys tuning in to another episode of the Coach Code podcast. Got Mr. Will Mahan in the house. What's happening, brother?
Not a whole lot. What's up, John?
Rocking and rolling, man. I know you're doing the same, and we were kind of laughing a little bit before we came live about how interesting a breed real estate agents are.
Yes, they are. They are an interesting breed. Interesting breed to say the least, for sure. What makes it tick?
It's Will runs team here in the Oklahoma City market, and worked on and off, back working together again, and really big decisions, thinking outside of the box, thinking differently. But man, look, Will, I would love for you to kind of share the beginning story, for you, kind of life before real estate, and then making that decision to jump in to be one of those interesting breed of real estate agent.
Yeah, sure. So I was actually born and raised in Washington, D.C. area. So Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., Southern Maryland, that whole metropolitan. Born and raised there, and then moved to Oklahoma City in high school. Hated my parents for it at the time, but yeah. So then shortly after high school, I said, you know what, I'm going to go back to the big city and live that big city life, and soon realized living in the big city as an adult is completely different than living in the big city as a kid, right? Because I got to pay the bills. So I'm there for 3 or 4 years and decided, okay, I'm going to come back up Oklahoma City and kind of live a little, cheaper lifestyle. So did that. And I actually jumped into the insurance business before real estate. And so I was in the insurance business selling life insurance. I did that for about 5 years and grew a pretty good, good sized business. But the time came where I just got tired of talking about death every single day, right? Selling life insurance is tough. No one wakes up in the morning saying, I'm going to buy some life insurance today, right? So it's not top of mind. And so
to that point, man, just how important, we think and the words we say and the things we do. You look at like even musicians, right? That even in their lyrics and in their music and in the songs that even might catch, and they're singing that same song over and over and over, it's just that, that voice, right? Because what we have to be real careful what we say, we hear, and what we hear, we internalize, and it starts to play in, kind of in the back of our mind, to your point, kind of going through that, and you're saying you're getting sick of that. How did it have a toll on you?
Yeah. So, and the repetitive nature of that wasn't really what I got sick of. It was just the context, right? Because when you sit across husband and wife and you're saying, okay, Miss Smith, if Mr. Smith dies right now, do you have a year's left of income? Can you sustain the same lifestyle? And so the conversations, the repetitive of the conversations were just around death, right? And just every single day coming home, it just kind of got to a point where I wanted to be excited when I had conversations with people, and not always kind of on the negative side of the death part of it, right? And so that part got old, was the context of the repetitiveness, right? Because right now everyone should have some type of repetitiveness in their business of what they're saying, and but I think the context had a lot to do with that part of it.
So then, know that you have to make a move, why real estate?
Yeah. So just to be, I had a dinner with a friend of mine that was in real estate, and we were just talking, and I had zero intentions at that time of, making a move. And he just said, man, I think you'll be great at real estate. I think this is something that you need to jump into. And so, long story short, after that dinner, he kind of talked me into taking that next step of getting my license, and I did. It was one of those things, John, and I talk to agents about this all the time, about entrepreneurship. Here's what he said. Entrepreneurship has an analogy. When we teach our kids how to swim, what do? We jump in the pool, and we say, hey, jump in. Dad's got you. I got your back, right? Jump in feet first, and the kids trust that they jump in, not knowing how to swim, that we've got them, right? Well, same thing with entrepreneurship. I think someone always needs somebody in that pool saying, "Hey, jump in. I've got your back." You know, and so he was that person. And so he said, "Hey, I got your back. I've got a team. You can jump in and just jump right into our team, and and we got you." And that right there made me feel like, okay, I've got somebody
Mm.
that's going to help me through this from day one. That's got my back. That doesn't want to see me fail. So I just did it. I just did it and just took that leap into the pool and what running from there.
Man, I love that, and I love that what you just said about the team environment, team atmosphere, and you and I've talked about this. I just, man, just in my core believe, anybody new getting into this business, I mean, if they want to collapse time and accelerate this career, you've got to get on a team.
100%.
If you have that entrepreneurial, self-starting drive, can you transition off the team in a couple of years? Absolutely.
Sure.
However, if you really want to, buck the statistical trend of where agents fall out after year one, after year two, you can hedge that in your favor by being on a team. And I'm not saying just any team, but a team that you align to their values, you believe in their vision, that can provide you, the ideas, can provide you the proven frameworks, can provide you, some done for you type services, maybe provide you opportunities, if not provide you the leadership, the mentoring, the ideas, the frameworks of how to go get that business. But then also the big thing that a lot of us need is accountability, and being able to show up to that is critical. And you and I talked about that in the structure of the team structure, being able to make sure that we have those key pieces in place. And we're really looking forward. Nick, I had Nick Krim on Expert Mentors yesterday, and Nick, I've heard it before, right? But you want to help those that are swimming to your boat. And it's, sometimes it's we're trying to throw that life preserver to the people that are swimming away from us.
Yep.
And it's like, no, take care of the people that are coming to you. And I think that's super key.
Absolutely. I am a huge believer, just like you said, that everyone entering the real estate business should join some type of team. For me, it gave me 2 years of experience in the first 6 months, right? Of being a solo agent. I immediately learned the language, the contracts, the systems, the processes, how they're generating leads, the showings. It was the first 6 months. I felt like I was in the business for 2 years. And the same, with our team, that's what we want to provide, is that, that day one support, and just giving everything that they can possibly have to succeed in this business.
Right.
Give them the tools, right? Give them the tools, show them the tools, teach them how to fish. And that's the biggest thing, right? Is our team, we teach you how to fish. We don't just give it to you on the plate. We're going to teach you how to do it. And if you're doing those activities and you're fishing on your own, then sure, absolutely, there's going to be some opportunities your way that we put on your plate. But you've got to show that you're going to be willing to go out there and fish on your own. I don't want a buyer's agent for life. I want to mold these agents into successful solo agents, and I've got to be able to provide them the tools first to do that, or else I fail as a leader in the team.
Sure. So kind of making that transition, you were on the team to, starting and doing your own thing. What did you carry over? What did you carry over from, that initial experience in that time frame into, kind of at least starting, your team?
Yeah, so I at least had some type of framework, right? And I had a lot of things that I took out of it, and a lot of things that I didn't take out of it I won't do, right? So there's a lot of things that I did take out of it, but the basic framework was me, and I need to leverage myself, right? So I need leverage. And what's that first hire? What's that first leverage look like? A lot of people don't want to leverage themselves because, quite frankly, I think they just don't want to spend the money to do it. Whether it's giving a percentage of their buyers or sellers away, whether it's paying that hourly admin, or that transaction coordinator per transaction, whatever it is. A lot of us just don't want to give up that part of the income. I soon realized that giving that up and leveraging myself actually grew my business a lot faster by doing that. And so I think leverage was the biggest thing that I took out of that team, because he did have admin and transaction coordinators and a marketing person and things like that. So I think that was the biggest key, was you have to leverage yourself.
So you already had the leverage there on the team. What was kind of the decision to, hey, I want to do this on my own?
Um, I think the biggest thing was the particular team that I was on, he had buyer's agents, right? Just buyer's agents.
Yeah, the
And
separation.
so he was a listing agent. I was the buyer's agent. And there came a time where I had some family that wanted to list a house, and was like, hey, you work the buyers, I work the sellers. And I felt like I wanted to grow more than just being a buyer's agent. And so I think that was the biggest deciding factor, was I just don't want to be a one-sided agent
Mhm.
forever. So, I think it was close to a year. I decided I want to be a solo agent because I want to grow both sides of this, of a business and a team.
Yeah. And I think that's, part of the evolution of the team model, right? That was the early on, that's how it was structured, right? Hey, you
Mhm.
run a team, this is how you do it. However, the fundamental team, the flaw in the team model is that your talent comes out the top, and you're going to lose them, and ultimately lose them potentially as a competitor.
Mhm.
Either they're going to another company, you lose that whole connection. And we learned that the hard way as well, right? Structured that way, and then we're like, hey, you know give them this opportunity. However, we want them, skilled. So if they're willing to make that investment in their time, and develop the capabilities, then heck yeah, let's get after it. Right. So I think that was a big kind of one of the transitions in that team model, being able to go that route. For you, with family and kiddos, was creating that team and that leverage also kind of important for you as well?
Oh, 100%. 100%. It was one of those things where I realized these kids are only going to be, under my roof for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And so I know I didn't want to miss birthdays. I didn't want to miss big holidays. Weekends were important. I knew we're weekend warriors as real estate, but I really wanted to try to enjoy my kids under my roof for as long as I could. And again, it's one of those things where leverage, yes, I'm giving up a piece of my income for that leverage, but I'm getting my time back, right?
Yeah.
So time is money too.
Yeah, for sure. And then, venturing off out there and into the dad coach out there as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've been at that for 8 years now. So
Holy shit.
yeah, I started out T-ball, 4 years old T-ball, and I've taken this team all in, and now they're 12 years old, competitive. So we went from a little team in Mustang, little rec team. Now we're a full-blown competitive travel team. So that's been an adventure too.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. Like what were some, because you've been doing it for 8 years. I mean, the growth and the evolution, and, I mean, I'm sure, I mean, do you still have some of the same kids together that you had?
5 out of the 11 or 10. So half of my team's still that core team. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like what are some of the big lessons that you've learned out of that, and how it's helped you, be a better dad, a better leader? What are some of those key lessons?
Yeah, and so these are girls, right? I mean, it's softball, so these are girls. So what helped me, I think, was I already had. I mean, I had 3 girls. So at the time, I had a 7-year-old girl and then a 4-year-old girl. The little one came later, but I was already, used to being that girl dad and that, that dad figure around girls. So I think that helped me a lot. But I try to make our team as family oriented as possible, meaning I wasn't cutting girls just because maybe they weren't as good as somebody that wanted to join our team, right? So I was more on the development side. I'm going to take these girls and I'm going to develop them to be at the competitive level. I didn't want to cut and pick up girls that might have been better. A lot of teams are like that, right? So I was
Right.
on the development side, and it helped me on the team side of my business because I was doing the same thing. My business was, I wanted to develop them to become strong agents, well-rounded agents, buyers, sellers, whatever it was, lead generators. And so I think both of those cultures that I was building, both with my softball team and my real estate team were based around development.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest takeaway or key word that I could really hold on to is just development in general.
Yeah, and I've seen that what you've been able to do with the team, and really, we talked about this, from, the Rory Vaden conversation with Ed Milet about, your best, to serve who you once were.
Hmm.
And
Yes,
how's that carried over, kind of that was kind of an aha moment for you as well
big
in
time,
looking at kind of the future of your business and the future of your career.
big time. Um, I don't know how long ago, 6 months ago or so, or 5 months ago or so, you said, you've got to go watch this podcast. And I did. And then you said, you've got to have a notebook. And I didn't at first. I didn't believe you. And then I went back and watched it again with the notebook. And just like you said, I got a lot out of it, but the biggest thing that captured my attention was what you just said. You are best served or like you're best right now to serve the person you once were. I'm in the position to serve that person, right? So I was young, I was hungry, I had young kids, I was an entrepreneur. I was trying to build, some type of wealth and sustainability for my family, try to do it all on my own. And so now I've carved that path, for somebody like that. And so that path is bumpy, but I can still take them down that path.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to do right now is just find people like that, young, hungry entrepreneurs that want to grow something. And I relate to them, a lot,
Yeah.
just because I was that person. And now I'm able to serve them. I'm able to help them and coach them and say, okay, here's the path that I went down. I've already kind of laid it for you. Just follow it, right? And so that's what I'm doing, right? I got 2 or 3 my agents that I mentor and coach right now outside of my team, that I really attach to because of that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just one of those aha moments, and it's just that awareness, right? Where you're doing those things, but sometimes you don't understand, how or why you're doing that. And I think when you're able to really latch onto it, you when you latch onto it, I think that allows you to be more intentional.
Mhm.
And instead of just doing it, unconsciously, we're just doing it, right? We're just going through it. We're just going through the motions, and having, like you said, right? We're doing the repetitiveness, and it's like, but when we step back and understand, well, how come I'm doing this? and,
Right.
what's the desired outcome, and is it helping me, achieve that is so key.
Well, I was doing that before I listened to the podcast. I was already doing it, but I didn't know why I wasn't consciously saying, why am I doing this? Right. But
Yeah.
listening to the podcast, I was like, oh, this is why I'm doing this. Right.
Right.
This makes sense now. It aligns now of why this is happening in my life right now with these people and these agents. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. And the big thing that I see is that it takes that level of understanding to really uncover what people's drive, what's going to get them to take action.
Mhm.
And for you as a leader, understanding why they do what they do, and what they're doing it for, allows you to just pour into them, and hold them that accountability piece, to get them to take the required action that is necessary to be able to, not survive but thrive in any type of market conditions. Man, you've been playing the game long enough. You've been able to ride through some the ups and downs of real estate. Kind of what are you seeing in feeling and experiencing just through all of the agent conversations, and just your experience in this local market?
Yeah. So fortunately, the Oklahoma City market doesn't really get affected like the big coast do. I mean, we're pretty steady, just in general. When COVID hit, that was kind of outside of the norm for our market, but we're pretty consistent. We're a blue collar state, and so I feel like we're always going to have a steady market in general, comparatively to the coast, right? The negative is we don't have the big price points like the coast does. So
Right.
we're mainly volume based. We've got to do 10 transactions to maybe one or two on the coast. But the flip side of that is we still stay pretty consistent, right? And so when it's down out there, we're pretty steady here just because of our price points. I think it's going to be like that. That's one of the biggest reasons I've stayed here. I've thought about moving to a coast over the past 6, 7, 8 years. But our market is pretty healthy. It's strong for real estate agents if you just stay committed in it. And that's the biggest thing is, right? I mean, you've got to stay committed to the process. And so, in our market, I enjoy our market just because of that consistency that we have. And I think it's going to be like that. I just don't see it going one way or the other drastically at all.
We we've been talking a lot around the agent conversation and when things get a little at times of uncertainty where the market is kind of doing kind of whatever it's doing. Yeah, there is a little bit more consistency here rather than out in other markets. But most people, especially agents, one, how well of a job are they doing at paying attention to what's going on locally versus getting caught up in kind of the national scope of things. And it really has an impact on their behavior.
Sure. Absolutely. Every Monday I do a call with my group, and I always bring the MLS up, and we're always looking at the stats. We're always looking at the market the past 7 days of what it's doing. And I'm a firm believer in paying attention to your local market, not what's going on in the big news, because that's where our clients are. They're here. They're not there, right? And so they're here. We've got to watch our market. The MLS has a great stats. They're bars. They're really easy to read, right? And so right now, our market, we're close to being an even market. We have a good amount of listings coming on compared to a good amount of listings going under contract. And so, watching that, and it's hard though, right? Because our local news doesn't really talk about local real estate.
Right.
The real estate talk is on the national level. And
Right.
so it's hard to do that. We've got to find places to go watch our local market and study it, because now we're able to go have educated conversations with our buyer and sellers of, hey, this is what's currently going on. Actually, here's what's going on right now. So I think
where do you go to get to, for you, Will, where are you getting that data and that information from?
Yeah. So, just my MLS. My MLS, I think that's the most accurate source of data. It's the most up-to-date, live, accurate. And so I just go to our local MLS and run reports through there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. And depending upon, I think a lot of the MLSs have gotten a little more sophisticated with it in the reporting and the data. Some are still, antiquated, but I think for the most part, being able to pull and pull from there is key. And, working with your agents, it's probably a little bit different conversation, but as the real estate community as a whole, kind of talk me through kind of what their perspective of kind of real estate and real estate moving into the future, just based upon the conversations you've had with so many agents.
A lot of them have scarcity mindsets. They're, we just said, like, they're listening to the national news. Interest rates are going up. They're saying no one's out buying because of the interest rates. No one wants to sell because no one wants to buy with a high interest rate and give up that 3%. A lot of these, all it is just scarcity mindsets, right? And so that's the biggest we're seeing, like I'm hearing right now, is no one wants to sell because they don't want to give up their 3% interest rate and buy into a 6% interest rate. Well, our market says differently, right? If you're watching our market, in the past 7 days, you get 700 listings come on. That's good, right? That's good for our market, and then we had 780 go under contract. That's good, right? And so instead of assuming that no one's going to give up a 3% interest rate to buy into a 6% interest rate, instead of just assuming that, let's watch the market and then let's go tell our sellers there's other people doing it right now, right? And so, like you have those have to buyers and the want to, or have to sellers and the want to sellers. We're still seeing a lot of the have to sellers, but the want to sellers are starting to slowly come back in because they're realizing, if I want to upgrade, if I want to move to this neighborhood, or I want to move to the school district for my kids, I'm just going to have to give that up, and then we can refinance later. And so we're starting to see a lot of those want to sellers come back into play.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, man. I think you nailed it right there. It's being more educational and letting them know, and not being afraid to pull up the MLS, pull up the statistics, pull it up and show them, right?
Mhm.
Because a lot of people, they get so hardwired into belief of this to be a certain way, or their belief system, and some to change their belief. Sometimes you got to show them,
Right.
and being able to show really what's going on. And like you said with agents, right? Sometimes they just say, well, I'm not going to call them because they're not going to do anything. And it's just like, don't ever assume, right? Just
Right.
have the conversation. And really those conversations, I think is one of the key metrics to pay attention to, in your business.
Yeah. And I've always brought comps with me, but I didn't really start bringing talking true market numbers until I started coaching with you years ago. Because that's how you guys, that's how I learned the listing presentation, was running these different reports that you guys are telling us, and these different sites of market reports. Then I started printing them off, and it was like light bulbs started going off for me, because I could see my sellers engaged into those reports.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see that stuff.
Yeah.
They don't call them nosy neighbors for nothing. They want to see what's going on around them. And so when we're making outbound phone calls for listings, that's what I'm telling, either my ISAs or my agents is, they're nosy. They want to know if their neighbor sold their house and how much they sold it for. So just call and let them know, hey, we just sold a house in your neighborhood. We just listed a home in your neighborhood. They're going to immediately be engaged, right? So the just listed, just sold scripts to me are the best, just because it engages them. And then they're going to listen, right? Same with listing appointments. When you're showing them these stats, they want to know, right? So let's just let's be educational. Let's educate them and show them, instead of being the salesperson, let's be the educator.
I love that. And so, we always talk kind of from the team, leader perspective, but we know agents are kind of running into a scarcity type of mindset. Not all, but a large percentage are. What are agents looking for right now? What are agents valuing in either team alignment, brokerage alignment? Like what are agents really looking for right now?
Yeah, I think the support role is really big, just because of the scarcity. Everyone wants to know someone's got their back. They can lean on someone. That someone's going to tell them it's going to be okay, right? Like that's what agents want, is just someone that they can lean on, that they trust, that's going to say everything's going to be okay. Let's continue. Let's continue the process. Let's continue the systems that we're working. Let's keep on hitting the phones. Let's keep on showing homes. And so I think like the support role is really, really, really key right now. Someone that's just going to answer the phone for them and say, hey, and answer their questions. And so I'm hearing a lot of that going on right now, is, whether some agents are moving companies for one reason or the other, it's always, I feel like the support's better over here, or I need that support. Honestly, and I hate to say this, because it's usually towards the end of my team, but opportunities, leads, people to talk to. And so I think that's another thing is, how do I lead generate? How do I get more people in my pipeline? And the person that's going to help them with that is the person that they're going to gravitate to and lean on, And again, not putting that fish on their dish, but helping them and showing them how, just taking the time and showing them how to go out there and build their pipeline.
Man, yeah, it is spot on. In having the belief that you can do it, right? And so that you're able to do that for them. So I think, really leveraging the stories of your other agents and your other team members back to them, I think is critical. It's that proof. It's the whole thing. You you can say the same message, but somebody else comes and, and says it the same exact way almost, and they're like, oh man, that's the greatest thing ever. Yeah. So not being afraid to get other people's perspectives and saying the message maybe in a little different way, but it's the same intent, the same message, resonates with certain people in a different way. So I think not being afraid to be able to do that. But yeah, man, you look at that. There's such a tremendous leadership void right now, and I think one of the things was that we saw, as you know, a lot of the teams, brokerages, companies, maybe we're getting a little fat and happy over the last few years, and kind of maybe in that lead role took their foot off of the gas because they had team members that were actually producing. However, it was maybe a false production because it was everybody was buying and selling. So if you had your sphere and you just let them know that you were a real estate agent, you could have those conversations and you could close 5, 6, 7 deals just off of that. Whereas now your whole sphere is bought and sold.
Yeah.
And so now what are you doing to generate and create leads, create opportunities? And so where I believe there's that leadership void is that those team leads, they have to go back into production.
Yep.
And so that takes away the time that these other agents are dependent upon. That leadership, that guidance is not there for them anymore. And so they're like, okay, where am I getting my help me solve my constraints, my problems?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the opportunity to attract other agents that need that development is greater now than ever. And
100%.
it's key, man.
Well, just like you talked about during COVID or around that time, no one needed a leader or a team because everyone could sell anything, right? Now that that's died off, now people are like, oh, I don't have a business right now. I might need some help now. I might need to lean on someone now. I might need a coach. I might need a team leader, right? And so I'm seeing a lot of people start gravitating back to the leaders saying, I need help now. Hey, remember me? I know I swam away from you for a long time because I felt like I can do it on my own because it was so easy. Now I'm swimming back to you because it got harder and I don't really know how to operate and run a business, right? And so the leaders, in my opinion, that over the years have built strong systems that are duplicatable, that can coach and teach their systems. I think those leaders are the ones that are going to continue to thrive as leaders and grow teams. To be transparent, I took a break for a little bit, over the years, with the team, and then soon realized like it wasn't fulfilling. And what fulfilled me was growing strong leaders within the team environment, that culture, right? That I was growing with the softball girls. I kind of let that go on my team. And I knew I needed that back, right? The fulfillment of both of those running together was fulfilling for a long time. And so I needed that back. And now it feels a lot, it feels good to be able to grow and develop leaders and teach and coach your systems that you've worked so hard in building over the years, and you've been in the trenches building the systems. And now it's like, okay, now I can go, now that it's already set, now let me go show these agents how to build the system.
Yeah. And, listening in, for those of you that are struggling, because I find this in a lot of conversations with a lot of agents, is that they struggle with that internal drive for themselves. And, we talk a lot, one of the most important skill sets to develop as humans now and moving forward is emotional intelligence. And, one of the core tenets is self-awareness and really uncovering what you're the best in the world at. And if you could do that one thing in your life and in your business, like what is that one superpower that we all have? And, when we went through that process, it was really great. For you talking through it, because you're like, man, I feel I'm the best in the world when I get face to face with a seller. Yeah. However, I don't have any passion for it, right? That's not like my unique gift, my ability. And understanding and unpacking the why format. And, you can say whatever you want about the why. What it helps you understand is that what am I the best in the world at, so that if I could allocate and build a team around me to complement me, so I can spend more time doing that thing, so that I can do that. So it gives me the fulfillment that really drives me. And this goes back to the other core tenet. One of the other core tenets of emotional intelligence is motivation, right? See, people think that they can be motivated. No, they can be inspired. Motivation is internal. And so what you were just kind of connecting the dots for everybody was that, hey, I'm the best in the world at pouring in and developing people, developing humans, so that they can thrive and develop other humans, right? Because that gives you the fulfillment. Now that's kind of the whole purpose aspect of things. And I think if people can tap into that, man, you talk about that internal motivation, that drive. Like, I mean, let me ask you, Will, like right now, because you and I've worked on this quite a bit. Your understanding of that now, does it feel like work?
No.
No,
not at all. Not at all. I get up every single day excited, and ready. I've got a success story right now with my partner Tiffany. She was a buyer's agent for me 4 years ago. A buyer's agent, brand new to the business. 4 years later, she's running a team with me. Poured it to her, and now she talks like I do, like real estate wise. She does business. I mean, everything that she does, it's how I operate, right? So that's all she's known is. And so now she's running a team, right? And so that's the fulfillment, right? Watching her grow as a leader, watching her pour into these other agents. I sit back in our team meetings, listening to her, just smiling, right? They're like, okay, like she's pouring to these agents, and it's exactly what I would be saying at that time, right? Whatever it is, right? And so that's the enjoyment, that's the fulfillment, watching that, right? So it's
Yeah. And it's cool too. It allows you to really then, carve out and create community. And, you've done a great job with that with Black Label. Kind of speak to us a little bit about, kind of where that came from, really what it's about, what it stands for. And then kind of what's the future?
Yeah. So Black Label came, basically I wanted to create a culture within our company, right? So I'm with EXP Realty. So I didn't, when people say I joined EXP, I wanted people to say I joined Black Label Producers, within EXP. I wanted them to join our culture. And also, I wanted something for newer agents or agents came over that might not have a team or part of a team, have some type of brand that they can attach themselves to say, hey, I'm part of a team. It's Black Label. We have X amount of agents in our, in our organization. And so, those are the two biggest things, with some type of culture and then something that an agent can, put their name onto if they chose to. And it took off. It grew. And what I created it for, what I wanted was, what we stood for was, I wanted to grow strong leaders within our community, in the community of real estate, right? And so, and that's truly what we're doing, is growing strong leaders, right? And so I want people to lead other people. And so if I can help one person, that can help one person, that can help one person, that's the goal, right? And so I can't help everyone, right? I can't tap into 200 people, but I can tap into 15, and then they can go tap into 15, right? And I think that was the whole analogy, I think, around EXP in general, with the growth and the 7 levels was, hey, let's help our first line go help our second line, go help our third line. And that's kind of what we're doing now, right? Growing leaders, within our community. And so, that was the thing, is just some type of culture, brand, community, and then, someone that's plugging in, helping them grow, the community.
It's cool. I mean, I love it. I mean, Black Label Producers. I mean, where the hell did that come from?
Just brainstorming one day. Actually, it was, a local insurance MVP, Joe Curtis. We were in there brainstorming one day, and I said, I think I want to create this brand. And I don't know, 30 minutes later, we came up with Black Label Producers, I don't know.
It's funny how things just sometimes
I
just
wanted
drop.
something exclusive. I
Yeah,
wanted a name that was that
yeah,
was exclusive, right? And I think
yeah.
Black was exclusive. So
Yeah, the ultimate test is, does it look good on a t-shirt, right? Is it swag worthy, right? That's like the filter question, right? Hey, is that swag worthy or not? And
absolutely,
that's when it's swag worthy, like shit, yeah, I got something here.
yeah,
That's good,
absolutely.
man. So for you, looking into the future, what does that look like? What are you excited about? Kind of where's your attention and your focus?
Yeah, continued growth, continued growth. I've got to continue growing myself as well as leaders. Me and you working on that weekly, and just being around like-minded people, people who I never want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to continue to grow because if I can't grow myself, I can't continue to grow this team. And I think one of my main focus is just continued internal growth for me. But just continue to pour into these agents, continue to twerk and tweak my systems and processes. Again, I just want that duplicatable system, but it's got to change, right? I mean, what worked 20 years ago doesn't work now, right? So
Right.
we've got to evolve our systems and we've got to continue to add pieces into them and take pieces away, right? Social media came in before really, I was in the business before social media was a big thing. I had to learn it and incorporate that into my system.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest thing for me right now is just continue to grow, keep one-on-ones with you, keep growing, keep being in the rooms like the kitchen tables and things like that, and then turn around and say, okay, here's what I learned, here's what I got out of it, and then pour back into
We're
more.
back into your people. Yeah, it really is, man. It's that cascading of valuable content and information down to, sometimes we're like, we know it so well. We just, sometimes believe everybody else does.
Yeah,
And, some things that are like, holy shit, this is the most amazing thing. You're like, we sometimes we just start to take it for granted. Like, yeah, we just do that every day. And it's just like you reintroducing, an old tool that really drove the success of your business back into the business. And they're like, it's the greatest thing ever. And you're
right.
like, oh, maybe I took that for granted.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh, so good, man. Well, I appreciate you making the time, jumping in and adding a ton of value, sharing your story and kind of the belief system and the direction and where you're going. And it's exciting to see the evolution. And I think that's what it's about, right? Just that progress and becoming better each and every day, not only for yourself, but then, pouring into others around you because it's making a difference and they're able to pour in. And, our number one metric was, not, wasn't how many houses we could sell or in that, but it was more so, how many leaders are created.
Mhm.
That's the true telltale sign of great leadership is how many leaders are you creating around you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what
Yes.
it's about.
Absolutely.
Awesome, brother. Well,
Fun.
I appreciate you, man, and keep the foot on the gas. And I know we'll jump back and do this again.
All right, man. Sounds
Awesome,
good.
man.
See you
See you
later.
guys.
All right.